Do you have a lot of Pokemon cards? Whether you're a casual collector, just getting back into collecting, or you collected a long time ago and you have cards just sitting in boxes or in these binders, and some of them could be very valuable. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys exactly how you guys can protect your cards by showcasing 3 different products that are used by collectors nowadays to protect their condition, to store them properly, and to maintain their value. Especially nowadays when the condition of the card is the most important element in maintaining their value and increasing over time. So in this video, we're going to be comparing traditional top loaders with these semi-rigid card savers and this new product called card preservers, which is an alternative to both. I'm going to do an in-depth comparison of these 3 products to show you guys all the differences and similarities they share, and then I'll let you guys decide which one you guys prefer to preserve your cards so they can maintain their condition and you can store them properly. And in the end, you guys will have cards that will continue increasing in value time after time, and they will maintain their condition. So let's jump into the comparison. All right, so let's begin. So we got the top loaders here, semi-rigid card savers, and then these card preservers, which are from Ultra Pro. Actually, all 3 of these could be purchased from Ultra Pro. They're like one of the biggest brands in North America that sell card supplies. I'm probably going to use them as a baseline just so we have an even playing field. There are a lot of companies that sell these products. You guys could obviously buy them from wherever you want. I mean, these are very standardized products that are available in most card shops. So if you guys go to your local card shop, you guys can find any of these 3 or even all of these. So the surprise guest on this video is going to be this Gengar from Lost Origin. This Gallery Gengar is a beautiful looking card, and I had 3 of these, so it was perfect for this video. I love having 3 of the same cards just so the comparison is the same, although it doesn't really matter what card I use. All Pokemon cards are the same. In terms of testing it, I'm going to use these cards. I'm going to be careful with them. They are all sleeved with the sleeves that I have mentioned in my previous video that I loved the size of. It's just a little bit bigger than the perfect fits, but not as big as the normal penny sleeves. These are like the perfect size for me. So if you guys have not checked out my sleeve comparison video, go check that out. But we'll use these Gengars later, so let's set them aside for now. So you guys might have noticed there are 2 sizes of these card savers. So this is something I found out recently as well. Apparently there are 2 sizes. There are actually multiple sizes of all these products, and I found out the recommended size is these card saver 1 sizes. Just a little bit bigger than the standard ones from Ultra Pro. I was told Ultra Pro also sells these bigger ones as well, but the standard ones that I got were this size, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to use. And if you guys are buying semi-rigid card savers, make sure you opt for the bigger ones just because they're easier to use. In this comparison, we'll use the smaller ones just because they're Ultra Pro brand, so I wanted to keep the branding the same. Not that Ultra Pro is sponsoring this video or anything, it's just so we have a baseline to work with. So let's take one of each. So these are all products that I have used. Top loaders I probably use the most, and these semi-rigid card savers, and then these things I got recently, but I don't use them as often because I don't have a use case yet for them, but I will be showcasing them and sharing the benefit of these. First comparison is the appearance. So as you guys can see, they are roughly all the same size. I could put them on top of each other. So the biggest obviously is the semi-rigid card savers, which are the tallest ones with the tab at the top, but the insert is roughly the same between all 3 of these. So the sizing, I'll do an in-depth size comparison, but for now they are about 4 inches by 3 inches, 4 inches by 3 inches, all of them. This one's 4.5 inches, and then the bigger card saver is almost 5 inches tall, I believe. Let me just give you a, yeah, it's almost 5 inches tall by 3.5 inches, or 3.25, sorry. So that's the size you guys want for card savers. But for this comparison, it doesn't really matter which I use. All right, so that was a quick size comparison, but we'll do an in-depth one in a minute. Appearance-wise, that's the first thing that you guys will notice. So they all look different, and you guys will see that these 2 are transparent, but this one, it's a bit thicker and opaque. Like the transparency is not as transparent as these other ones that are almost like glass-like or plastic like. This one's more like a white hue. Short a comparison of appearance, let's put the cards inside, and then we can see how much of an effect this transparency has on the card design versus these other 2. All right, so I inserted the Gengars inside, and as you guys can see, it does have a bit of an effect, but most of the opaqueness or the color on this preserver is from the back side, which you guys could see that difference. Like this card is super white compared to this one, which is transparent, and you guys can see the blue of the card. And the card saver is just as transparent. In fact, it's probably more transparent than the top loader because it's a thinner plastic. So overall, if color is important, these card preservers might not be the best bet. It's not a huge deal on the front, but the back of the card is a lot more white in comparison. So the next thing we're going to test out is the size. So I did a brief summary already, but the size of these card preservers is where it wins. These are actually the smallest one among the three. It's a little bit smaller, like about a couple millimeters, or maybe like an eighth or a 16th of an inch smaller than the top loaders. But where it beats the top loaders is in terms of thickness. So you guys can see it's half the thickness of a top loader. In fact, maybe not half, but a bit more than half, 2/3 of the size. So 3 of these card preservers is probably the same thickness as 2 top loaders. So that's where you guys will win. If you guys have a lot of these card preservers, they take up a lot less room than these top loaders. Now back to thickness. The thickness of the semi-rigid card savers are actually the thinnest among the 3, especially when no card is inside. It's a very thin plastic, and that might affect the protectiveness of these. So these are more for display, or really these are mainly used for submitting your cards for grading. And here I will show you guys the measurements of all of these, but really quickly I could just measure it right here. So the top loaders are about 4 inches by 3 inches. And the card savers are a little less than 4 inches. So about 3 and maybe 7/8 by 2 and 7/8 of an inch. And these Ultra Pros are 4.5 inches tall, 3 or maybe even 2 and 7/8 wide. So yeah, I'll just put it on top of top loader so you guys can see it is a bit slimmer than a top loader, but like I previously mentioned, these other card savers are bigger, so they're about 1/2 inch taller and maybe a 1/3 of an inch wider. So the cards are already inside, so the next test I'll do is maybe the durability test. I'm going to be careful because these cards are not cheap, but we could just do a quick little bend test, and you guys could see that the top loaders have a bit of rigidity. They are more rigid than, guess what, these semi-rigid card savers. So these guys bend pretty easily, honestly. They probably give twice the resistance of a card. So if you stack 2 cards together and you bend it, that's probably what it feels like when you bend these guys. And these card preservers are almost exactly the same as the semi-rigid card savers in terms of resistance. In fact, it's probably even less than that. The best comparison I could do is if you put 2 cards together and you try to bend it, that's what this will feel like. These top loaders are more like when you put 4 cards together, that's the amount of resistance. So you get about twice the resistance with these top loaders, which is important if you guys are stacking cards or if you guys handle cards a lot. That's why top loaders are very common in the collector community, and they have stood the test of time. No other product has really beat it in terms of preserving your cards, but these things are coming close, and I'll show you exactly why in a minute. So the other test of durability is maybe the scratch test. So normally you guys won't be scratching these with knives or with coins, so I'm not even going to test that. It makes no sense, but we could test it with a dull piece of metal from like this tape measure just to see. I mean, they're plastic, so eventually they will scratch any kind of distress, but there's no real deep scratches. I'm sure if you guys take a knife or a sharp object, these things scratch really easily, but because they are like a soft plastic. But the scratch test I'm going to be showing is when you put multiple of these together and if it scratches. So you guys can see normally they won't scratch. The only time these will scratch up is if there's dust or particles in between them. So when they move around, those dust particles will probably indent the plastic and scratch it. Normally these are very smooth plastic that shouldn't scratch when you put multiple of these together. So as collectors, you guys probably have like 50 or 100 cards in the box. It will be shaking occasionally. So really the main goal is to protect the card inside. So it doesn't really matter if the plastic is scratched. I mean, you guys could even see these are a bit scratched because I've used these before. So I'm using products in this that I've used before just to show you guys that I actually used them. And you guys could see this just from normal wear. There are some minor scratches, but realistically inside there's nothing, because what's going to scratch on the inside? It's only surface level scratches, and the card inside will be protected. Same case with these card preservers. In fact, these are even more smooth. These will probably scratch even less just because the surface is so smooth. Like honestly, I can't even see it getting scratched. I've used these previously, and the level of scratches in comparison between the top loaders is minimal. Like maybe the light will catch it, the scratches on the top loader. They're very fine scratches, but These preservers don't have anything on them. And same with these semi-rigid card savers. The plastic on them is a lot more smooth compared to the top loaders, but that might even be the brand of top loaders I'm using. I mean these are Ultra Pro, but I know there are more expensive kinds or different types of top loaders. They're the ones that are translucent, that are like UV resistant, which will probably scratch a little easier because they're softer or different material. But overall, in terms of scratch test, I don't think it's going to be a big factor. Your cards will be protected, and you should be sleeving your cards when you insert them, so your cards will have enough protection from accidental scratches that might happen on the surface of these products. Alright, so the next test is actually using them. So in terms of usability, they are all very different, and this is where you guys might base your decisions on which ones you guys want to pick to preserve your cards. So top loaders, obviously the name says it all. You top load the card inside. So I'll show you guys. I'll remove the card and put it back inside, show you guys the whole process. But to remove it, you have to dig your fingers inside and pull your card out. Otherwise, there is enough room in these top loaders that you could probably just shake your card out. Probably not recommended, because your card might fall out of the sleeve that's inside of it. So you guys might want to create a gap by pinching the two sides as shown here, and then insert your fingers and pull it using the sleeved card, not the card itself, but using the sleeve to pull it up like a tab. And you guys could see I took it out, and inserting it just as easy. So you guys will see on the sides there are some slits that you could insert the corner of your card. Be careful, slide it in, and then give it a love tap at the bottom, and then it slides right in. If you guys want, if you guys have a hard surface, you can just tap it a little bit on the surface, and it will hit the bottom of the top loader, and it's secure. So they don't really shake much inside because the cards are sleeved, and the inside is tight enough that the cards shouldn't shake. I mean, occasionally they might shake a little bit in top loaders, but in these other two I have not seen any shaking. And that's where we'll move on to the card preservers. So this is very different but similar at the same time. So they are top loaded, except you guys might see something. There's a tab here, and the top does not have a slit on top. What the tab is it's folded over, so that will preserve the card from any dust and debris that might occasionally come into the card if you guys store it upwards. In a binder, potentially dust travels everywhere and it could go inside. So that's where these card preservers excel. All four corners of this product are protected from dust, debris, or any of the elements. Dust and debris are mainly avoided using this method, but just because you guys have that extra layer of protection on top. And here I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. There's this tab that you could fold over and seal the top of the card. Otherwise, inserting it is very similar to a top loader. If in fact it's even easier, because it's a softer material and it's less rigid, so it's easier to put your fingers inside. And you guys could see inserting it is just as easy. I'll do it again. Pinch the two sides so you can create an opening, put your fingers inside, pull the cards using the sleeve. Same case when you put it inside, pinch the two sides, insert your card. You could give it a love tap if you want, and then fold over the top. It's as easy as that. Semi-rigid card savers are very different than these two. In fact, in terms of how it seals the card, so it actually it's kind of like a vacuum that kind of sucks the card inside, and the card has zero movement. I mean, this one is very limited movement. Top loaders have slight movements inside depending on the sleeve size you use, but these ones, nothing. I mean, even if you love tap it, the card does not move. Maybe if you hit it hard enough, but then that's just being silly. Like, normally you won't be hitting it that hard, especially if it's not moving anywhere. But taking it out here, this is where you have to pinch the two sides to create this opening for your fingers to come in. You can pull your card out, but there is a bit of resistance. So like I said, it's a very tight seal. So even when you insert your cards, it doesn't just go in normally. You guys have to pinch the two sides, and that's why the bigger ones are recommended, because you guys could see there's a lot of resistance. Like, the further you go, the harder it is, and this is where you could damage your card if you don't pinch the two sides. So you pinch it, but not enough that you're going to hurt the card, and then you create that vacuum to insert the card inside, and then you seal it. There you go. But you guys could see with the larger ones, you guys have a much larger vacuum that you guys could insert your card inside, in comparison to these smaller ones. So that's why if you guys are buying card savers, buy the bigger ones. You guys will have a lot more ease in inserting your card inside. Let's go on to use cases. So all three of these obviously are used to protect your cards, but why do these three products exist? Well, top loaders have been used for a very long time by collectors, and even nowadays they're the most popular items that are used to protect your cards. I see them at all card shows. I see so many collectors have them, and there are top loader binders that you guys could buy where people store their valuable cards like this Gengar inside those binders, and you could flip through them versus just putting your sleeved cards inside binders. And that's why top loaders are so good, because they're so versatile, and you guys could, and they've been used for so long that it's been adopted within the community. Top loaders have that acceptance from collectors as one of the best ways to store your cards. But these card preservers are something new that are actually an alternative to card savers. So why are they recommended? Well, they're thinner than top loaders. They offer that protection on top from any of the elements. Overall, it's easier to handle than top loaders. Let me tell you, when you have a stack of top loaders, even 20 cards becomes a lot when you're trying to shuffle through them. The thinner the protection, the easier it is to shuffle through your cards and manage them. That's where the thickness is a factor. Well, these are very popular among the grading community because companies like PSA or other grading companies, I believe, require card savers when you're submitting your cards versus the top loaders or any other method of protecting your cards. They like it because it's standardized for them. I guess I heard that they cut these and then they could easily remove the card from inside. Otherwise, for them, it's a lot easier to just pinch the two sides and pull out the card like so. Like pinch it and then pull it out. Although I'm using the wrong size card savers for that application here. Actually, while we are on the topic of grading, I'll use these bigger ones just because these are recommended for grading. So create that vacuum and you guys will see it's a lot easier to insert your card. Like there's no resistance. Even when you get to the bottom, like you do need to push it a little bit just because there's no more room to slide it unless you open that opening. But you guys will see this is the recommended size, and I guess they either cut one of these sides and they could just pry it open, or it's very easy for them. So this is recommended when you're grading. That's why card savers are very common and used within the collector community. But now the most important factor, price wise. Well, I did a quick comparison between different card stores and even Ultra Pro themselves, and I found that the pricing between these three are very similar. I mean, top loaders are probably the cheapest just because so many different companies sell top loaders. Like top loaders range between maybe even 8 cents or 10 cents up until like maybe 15 cents a piece. You'll probably get it for even cheaper than that depending on the bulk buy. Like if you buy 200 top loaders, I'm sure you could get it for even under 10 cents a piece. But normally I would say they're about 10 cents a piece, give or take. But they could even come out to even 20 cents a piece. I've seen card shops selling 25 of these for $5, which comes out to about 20 cents a piece. Or if you buy larger quantities, that comes out to about 10 cents a piece. So for example, 200 top loaders might cost $20 or $25, give or take. But I would average it about between 10 to 15 cents a piece, depending on how many you buy at once. But these card savers might actually be a bit cheaper on average compared to top loaders from what I have seen. The Ultra Pro brand, about 12 cents a piece in Canadian dollars, which is about 10 cents in USD. That again varies depending on how many you buy at once. So it's similar to top loaders, and if you buy a large quantity, it might even be cheaper just because it's less plastic, because it takes less storage, so it's easier to sell more product, and I guess they price it for a little bit cheaper because of that. Finally, these card preservers. So they are only from Ultra Pro. I believe Ultra Pro has patented this or is working on patenting this design. Maybe other companies also offer this, but I haven't seen other companies yet. In terms of pricing, the cheapest I have found was about $5 for a pack of 25. That comes out to about 20 cents or 25 cents a piece. In USD it might even be cheaper, but overall these are the most expensive ones, and I guess it's because of the adhesive and the back end, because not a lot of collectors are using them yet, so it's harder to price them for cheaper just because of the volume that they have to make. It's probably a lot easier to make top loaders, I'm sure, compared to these guys. More people adopt them, and the more companies that bring them out, the more competition there is and the cheaper the prices will be. In terms of pricing, I would say card savers are the cheapest if you buy in bulk, followed by Toploaders, which are about the same price, if a little bit more expensive, and then card preservers are about double the price of these products on average from what I have seen. So I'll give my final thoughts on it. If you guys are just a normal collector and you guys want a way to store your cards and preserve them, Toploaders are a way to go. If you want something a bit fancier than Toploaders, something a bit thinner than Toploaders that offer protection on top, these card preservers may be something you guys might want to try. They're worth it to try out. They are a good alternative. I found they are a bit more expensive. If you're looking to grade your cards or you're sick of your cards moving around inside the protectors, semi-rigid card savers is what you want. The bigger size, they're a lot easier to use. They're a lot more recommended for Pokemon cards. Just a quick reminder, they are a little bit under 5 inches by a little bit under by about 3¼ inches. That would be my final thoughts. Personally, I will be sticking with Toploaders if I decide to store my cards in boxes. Otherwise, I just like storing my cards in binders, just sleeved, not with this additional layer of protection, because I could flip through more cards and they're less bulky. I found Toploader binders are very bulky and thick. That's just my personal preference. I use these only for storing cards in boxes or at card shows. These I don't use regularly. I have a pack, but I don't really use them. And card savers, I've used them to submit cards for grading. So now that you guys have seen the comparison between these three, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. And as always, I appreciate that you guys watched this long, and please leave a like, subscribe, and share this video if you guys found it useful, and leave me your feedback on what other content I should make for you guys. Thanks for watching.